Hello everyone. Hope you all are doing good. So I hope you have seen the last video of our chapter 3, that is scoping. In that we saw about LEGB rule and local scope, global scope and built-in scope. So all the scopes we saw. So let's go to the continuation of our chapter 3 today. In this video we'll see what is a module and what is called as modular programming. Then what is characteristics of a module. Then what are the benefits, then access control that is available in Python, and OOPS. So let's go to the first topic, that is module. So generally when we call a module, it is a part of a program. So a module is a part of a program. So one single module will contain almost several statements. Okay, so generally how I can explain you this is, take an example of a coding which has 10 lines. So rather than one person writing the entire 10 lines, it is easy of 5 people writing it of two lines. So if we split the 10 lines of code into 5, so it like each person will have two lines. So that is easy. Time will be consumed in a minimum manner, and everything we have a positive thing in that. So modules are like we split a very big program into parts, and at last we'll correlate all the parts together and to make the final output. So it is like individual level and we can integrate it with the other modules. So then what is a modular programming? So modular programming is, it is a software program that divides the modules accordingly to ease the job of programming. So this is what I told you. So what a software program is doing, it is trying to make the job easy for us. It is trying to make the program easy for us to understand and debug. Debug is checking the errors. Okay, so see, if it is a 2000 lines of code, if it is a 2000 lines of code, and if one single person is sitting and writing the entire code and trying to check out the errors, it takes much time. Instead of that, if you split the 2000 line of code into equal 10 parts, each person will have 200 lines. So checking the errors is much more easy. So it is making the job easy for us. So the process of subdividing a program into small subprograms is called as modular programming. So module is a part of program, that is a subprogram. So the process of which we are dividing it is called as modular programming. So the examples are procedures, subroutines, and functions. I hope subroutines we have seen in the first chapter under the functions category. So next would be your, see here, I'll explain you with the program. This is a function that I have written. Can you see? Display one is a Python function. Okay, so after this I've explained. So once I've called, given the value as 100 and 200, next time I've given as 100 and 200. So I'm giving the value as random. So randomly I'm going to print numbers. So first time it is 161 and second time it is 181. So I've told I need to print values between 100 and 200. So anytime if you execute it 10 times, you will get 10 different numbers. Okay. So this is modular programming, where you can write it as a separate function and you can use it again and again. So this particular thing is called as your module. Next, coming the characteristics of a module. So it contains instructions, processing, logic, data. So I told you a module is a subprogram. It is not just some characters, it is a program. So a part of a program. So it also consists of all the logic, data, processing, instructions, everything is there. Then modules, obviously it is separately compiled and stored. See, I told you if it is a 200 lines of code and if I'm dividing it by 10, okay, to 10 different people, each one will have 20 lines. So I have 20 different programs right now, and I'll compile 20 different programs separately. So I'll have 20 outputs. At the last, I'll correlate all the 20 to 1. I'll merge all the 20 to 1. That is what module. So modules is always included in a program, and module segments is the function name. So in the earlier slide we saw disp, it was a function name. So how many ever times you want to call this function, you can call it up. So modules can be used by other modules as well. So see, this is the example. See, display one. So the name of this, I can use how many ever functions I want to include, I can include. So according to this is the module. So this particular module is used here, here, wherever I would like to call, I can call it. So this is all about characteristics of a module. Next is benefits of modular programming. So when it comes to benefits, less code is to be written. Yes, because I told you the same example. If it is a 200 lines of code and I'm giving it to 10 different people, so each person will have only 20 lines of code. So for them it is less. When one single person sitting and writing a 200 line of code, he may find it difficult. So rather, if we are splitting it to 20 people, each people will have 10 lines. Okay, so it is less code to be written. Then reusability of the code in many applications. So whenever you like to use the thing, you can use it again and again. For example, if it is addition, you can call the addition how many ever times you want to do. So as I told you, if it is an addition, so if it's addition is a common operation where everyone will use. So if the first person is writing the same module, if the second person requires the same thing, he can use from the first one. He need not sit and write the entire code. He can use the module from the first person. So reusability of code is the one major benefit. Then a small team deals with only small part. Same concept. So 10 teams are there, 10 team is going to write small code. So a small team is involved in writing a small part from a big program and allows many programmers to collaborate the same application. That is, say I told you 20 people are sitting and working on one single project. Okay, so all of them will have we are working on Python. Okay, so if that is the case, all the 22 of you are writing or using the Python in a school lab. Okay, if that is the case, then all the 22 people are using the same application Python, but the programming strategy may vary, the structure may vary. You may write it as A plus B, some other person will write it as B plus C. So the things may vary, but you are using the same application Python. So many programmers are collaborated here. Then the code will across multiple files. So it is stored across, because I told you already, if second person would require the first person part, he can retrieve from him. He can ask the details and he can collect it from them. So this is what it is stored, and whenever it is required, the other person can use it up. And the code is very short, simple and easy, obviously, because the code is very simple. Out of 200, he is only writing 20. So the same thing, errors can be easily identified because it is a very less code, 20 lines of code. Errors, it is very easy to identify. We can understand, okay, among this is a problem. If it is a 200 lines of code, sitting and seeing each line, you will find difficult. Rather, if it is 20 lines, no problem. You will sit and finish it off quickly. And the scoping of variables can be easily controlled. So when it comes to scoping, you all know that it is local, global, built-in and enclosed. So these things can be controlled easily when the code is small, right? If it is big, you cannot understand which is local, which is global. If it is very small, you will be able to identify quickly. So this is all about characteristics and benefits of modular programming. Okay, so next topic is access control. Access control, I said it is a new oops. So it is a security technique. Obviously, it is a security technique that is allowing us to view or use the resources properly. Okay, so for example, take your mobile phone. Okay, you use a pattern for your mobile phone, pattern, pin, password, whatever it is. Only if the person knows the password, he'll be able to log into your mobile and he can see the things, right? So access control is same concept. We can specify who can see and who can review our resources in the computer environment. So that security technique we call as access control. Okay, so it is in other words we can say it as selective restriction, because one person will know the, see for example, if it is to be 22 children, so you people are enrolled in 12A classroom. Okay, so only because of that reason you people are able to attend the class. Okay, so C section boy cannot come and sit in A section and cannot listen the class because he is restricted with the access to attend classes from 12A, right? So this is specific people alone are given access to particular resources. This is access control. So in object oriented, we saw these in 11th standard itself. In C++ and Java, we call this as access modifier. So we have this private, public and protected. So access modifiers are private, public, then we have protected. So private is only one single person, like this I can give you the example with your FB profile picture. Okay, so private is only you will be able to see the profile photo, not nobody will be able to view it, only you can see. That is your private. Protected is you give permission for your friends to see it, you give your permission for your friends to view your picture. Public is anybody can view. So it is private, protected and public. This is a difference. So private, only private members of the class, they are denied access from outside the class. So for example, as I told you, in 12A, if 22 children are there, okay, and they are attending computer science class, so bio students are restricted to attend computer science class. Okay, so only 12A will be in the circle and none of others cannot enroll there. That is private. Public, it is accessible from outside the class, so it can be teachers. So in 12A you have a number of teachers, 6 teachers are coming in and they are taking class. So from outside also you'll be able to, but you have to give it in a public manner, so anybody can come in and go. Next comes your protector. It is like subclass, it is accessed only within the class, but I can give specification like these people can come in, they can come in, I can give. Okay, this is for private, public and protected access specifiers. So in Python, they don't have any mechanism, but anyhow, they also effectively restrict things. Okay, so we have access control in the form of single or double underscore, which specifies the behavior of protected and public. So these things, when it comes to programming, you will be able to understanding it very clearly from 5th chapter. So all members in Python classes are public by default. So generally we have seen in C++, if we write program in Python or inheritance, what we say, if nothing is mentioned, we call that as private. We call that as private. But in Python, if nothing is specified in access, we call that as public. So in Python, classes are public by default. Rather, but in C++ and Java, if nothing is mentioned, we call that as private. Okay. So with this, we'll be completing our 3rd chapter as well. This is the overall view of scoping and modular programming.